Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm so glad to hear this morning. We got a great show lined up, some amazing stories to tell you. You're just not going to believe what this outdoorsman has done. But first, let's take care of our weather, brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin Highway 77. High today, 71, low 57. Pretty warm day. It's going to have a little bit of rain getting on out of here, but the water temperature, the all-important water temperature, is right at 62.8. So we're going to round it off to 63 degrees. So it's getting close as we get ready to wrap up the month of February. Our river readings, we're looking at the Apalachicola Bluntstown, folks. It's at 23 foot this morning. I mean, that is super high. We kept thinking it's going to go down, but they've had a lot of rain up north, and all those gates have been open, and you see the results. The Choctawhatchee, Caryville, it's right at 12 foot still. So it's going to be, February just a high water month, and a lot of things happen on it. So it gets those fish, they get out there and get to eat a lot of food and all in the high water. The marine forecast, we're tide first. Low tide this morning at 6:31, and the high tide 10:37 tonight. And the marine forecast be coming out of the west-southwest at about 6. All right, we're going to take our break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, folks, and we're going to welcome back one of our top-notch bass fishermen in the country, not just the Florida Panhandle, Bobby Smith. Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, Coach.
We're glad to have him. And listen, before we got a lot to talk about, we're probably going to do 2 shows off this because what this man has done is just simply incredible. On January, if y'all remember, we had him on 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was on January the 14th, 2017. I wrote down the date, January 14th, 2017. Bobby caught his 45,000th fish, a bass. 45,000. And so we had him on the show, talked about it. He showed the tackle and different ways he fished. And then I said, Bobby, I made him promise. I said, Bobby, when you get close to 50,000, you let me know because I want to go over there. I want to film it. We're going to video the 50,000 catch. And you kept that in mind. So, but what has happened? What happened the other day?
Coach, I'm sorry. I fully meant to do that.
You had intentions. I
had intentions. Our last tournament was Saturday a week ago, and I was 43 fish shy.
So that's a good cushion.
With a bad cold front, bluebird sky, and hard northeast winds, I didn't think there was any way I'd catch 43 that day. Uh-huh. So I figured, well, I'll go today and catch 25 or 30, and I'll call Coach next week, and we'll go one day and we'll film 50,000. Well, that's why they call it fishing. You just never know. So I wound up catching 44. So the next to the last fish I caught happened to be number 50,000. And he was no more than 50 yards from where that number 45,000 came from.
There's so many ironies in this situation. So this man right here, folks, has caught 50,000 bass. And he's got it scheduled to hold a book up. I mean, we got people say, hey, you know that. If you remember last time I had him on the show, this right here, and we're going to talk about it later. We talked about how he has his.
About worn out.
I got to be careful with it. Y'all see all the interest and all of all the fish he's caught. It's all documented. Tell them what you put in here. The date,
I
temperature.
Put the date, who I went with, how many bass we caught, how many the boat caught, how many I caught, because I don't count anybody else's fish.
Okay.
This is the 50,000 I personally caught.
Uh-huh.
And then I list what the biggest one was. Whether it was morning, afternoon, best time of day type of thing, where we caught them, what we caught them on. And then I keep up with the financial end of it. If I paid an entry fee, if it was a tournament, and if I won any prize money in it, even if my partner gave me any gas money, because I claim that when I filed my IRS taxes on it. And that was the thing the IRS agent was most impressed with last time they audited me. He said, now, you could have hid that. And I said, I didn't hide anything. All of this is just like it was. And he said, well, that tells me something about you. He says, I don't have to worry about you, and they haven't audited me since.
Ah, there you go. That's something else now. The word in our society, the word legend is overused and not applied in the right case in a lot of situations. But now, in my mind and so many of the outdoorsmen mind, Bobby Smith is a legend. He is truly a legend in what he's done. And we're going to talk about later on how he actually was the first one in this area ever to start catching and releasing, way back. But we're going to get to that later. And you mentioned prize money. Let's go. You kept a record of that over the.
We have to for IRS purposes.
Okay.
And
so what's close to your total now? Do you remember?
well, this past year, I had a really good year last year. In spite of the recovering from the hurricane.
Isn't that something? 2019 was a good year, wasn't it?
It was a very good year for me. I won 14 tournaments last year. Of course, I fished in 50, but I won 14 tournaments. That wound up putting me over 300 tournament wins. 306.
Okay.
I crossed the $300,000 total career winnings last year, and
Congratulations.
toward the end of the year, and so that was kind of a milestone, and it's satisfying because I worked real hard at this, but it's what I love to do. If I didn't do this, I don't know what I would do.
When the early days, growing up, you didn't really do much bass fishing growing up.
I didn't start seriously bass fishing until I was 22 years old.
Okay.
My granddad taught me to love fishing from the time I could walk.
Yeah.
But we brim fished. We caught stump knockers and brim and little catfish.
From the bank?
From the bank most of the time. My granddad couldn't swim. And he wasn't real comfortable in boats. And of all things, we found an old homemade wooden boat somebody had left on the bank of a little old pond out in the middle of nowhere one day. And he said, you know, if we were right out there, we could probably catch more fish. And we got in it, paddled out there, and we noticed there was a little water in the bottom of it. We didn't pay it a whole lot of mind. We was catching those little brim right and left, throwing them in the bottom of the boat. We had a built-in live well there. They were swimming all around our feet. Yeah. Next thing you know, I says, Pappy, is this boat sinking? He turned and looked and said, Sonny boy, I believe it is. And he had an old piece of a one before in there for a paddle is all it had. And when he leaned to pick it up, it just nosedived.
Oh my goodness.
Right in the middle of that pond. And luckily, it was up to his chin. Like I said, he couldn't swim a lick.
Oh my goodness.
And I grabbed an old tree and held on to it and was worried about him. I was maybe 8 years old, something like that, 7 or 8. No.
Wow.
And I said, Pappy, are you okay? He said, yeah. Yes, sir, I can barely touch the bottom. He says, can you make it to the shore? I said, yes, sir, I can make it. He said, well, you strike out for the shore, and I'm going to try to get this boat in. And the boat actually flipped over and came up, floated up, dumped all our tackle in the pond, of course, which what little we had. And he actually treaded water and held on the boat and got the boat back to the hill. And that's the last time I remember him getting in a boat.
I can understand that. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with Bobby. Welcome back. Sitting here with Bobby Smith, the only person I've ever heard of that's caught 50,000 bass here in the Florida Panhandle. What an amazing accomplishment. I want to congratulate you. That's just what you've done. And we're going to talk about how you started conservation later. But finish up about how you started bass fishing. You were all through those teenager years where most kids are bass fishing or whatever. You didn't do any bass fishing. When did you start?
I actually started in my early 20s, just here and there, and maybe go cast a couple hours in the morning, then pull out the cane poles and the crickets and catch a mess of brim if the bass wasn't biting. But I actually got hooked on bass fishing in about the 1st of April, around 1974. Old friend of mine, Johnny B. Newsom.
Johnny B.
Got me out of the bed one Saturday morning, called me up, and we had a big party the night before, and I wasn't in any shape to get up early. And he called and wanted to go fishing at the Dead Lake, said they were eating it up. And I told him I didn't care if they were biting the prop off the foot of the motor. I wasn't going. And an hour or so he called back again, couldn't find anybody else. And I again told him I wasn't going. The third time he called, it was by then it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, man, I can't get anybody to go with me. Come on and go. They're eating it up, I'm telling you. And he said, I'll come by and pick you up. We'll take my truck and boat. So I reluctantly agreed. I didn't even own a bait casting reel then. I had a couple of the old Mitchell 300 spinning reels, 10-pound test line. I grabbed an old Snagless Sally and an old Rebel topwater bait, tied on them. He picked me up. We got down the Dead Lakes probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, put in at West Arm Creek. And by sundown, I'd caught 4 over 4 pounds and 1 over 5 pounds. and it was like being hooked on drugs.
From then on, it was over,
The
right?
next Saturday morning, I was there when the sun came up. The next Saturday morning, I caught one over 8 pounds there.
On your third
spinning
trip, you
reel.
caught an 8-pounder.
And I'm hooked for life.
Oh my goodness! What a great story right there. How you get started on something and then and you just fell in love with it. And I look at all these. I got so many notes, folks. He came over the house yesterday afternoon and we were trying to plan the show. And I want y'all to see all these notes I wrote down. You think we're gonna get to them? We got all. He's got some baits here. We're gonna show you. Let's show some pictures. You've been retired a while, but this is your work truck here. This is right here. Tell us about this one.
That's my office.
That's your office.
That's where I've been to work for the last 18 years, and I hope until the day I hang it all up.
I like that. Okay, this one right here. I'm just going to stick pictures. We're going to old school and put pictures right up here. Tell us about this.
That's a pretty river bass out of the Apalachicola River, a little over 7 pounds, caught and released.
Okay. We're just going to go through.
That's a Deer Point Lake fish.
They're not any big fish in Deer Point Lake. That's what they tell me.
That was a 7-pounder. I'd fly fished all night, and I picked up a buzzbait at daylight and caught a 3 and a 7 back to back.
Oh my goodness.
Called my wife, come down the ramp, make that picture. There's a couple of those big Lake Seminole early spring bass, spinnerbait fish up in the marsh.
Okay.
That's a Lake Talquin fish. I caught behind a guy's dock. He was crappie fishing off the dock, and he offered to take my picture for me.
All right.
There's another, that's a Lake Talquin, that's an 8.6 pound bass out of Lake Talquin. That was actually caught in a tournament and didn't get big fish.
That didn't get big fish?
That didn't get big fish. There was an 8.8 weighed in that day.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, David Boyd from Quincy.
Okay. What is that one right there? What?
That's another, I think that's just another copy of that same Deer Point fish. Now here's from down the tidal marshes down there around Apalachicola, one of the little tidal creeks. I love to fish tidewater. So you catch a lot of numbers of fish, but every so often you'll catch a 5-pound fish like that, or like that.
Yeah, I recognize some of that fishing area. Sometimes you get tied up with a redfish, don't you?
Oh yeah. Every now and then you'll get a redfish. They especially hate that snagless Sally down there.
Yeah.
But
that's a pretty one.
Anyway,
creek water.
I love to.
Tell us about the color of this one.
Well, see, that's a river fish. Well, that's a creek fish off the river.
Okay.
You can see the real dark line. They get that typically when the water's cold. If you see those gloves on my hand,
it's cold.
Right there. It was cold when I caught that fish, and but the cold water brings out the colors in them. They're very beautiful in the wintertime.
Wow. Okay.
That fish.
One or two more.
And that fish.
Both
I caught those the same day. That's right out of Deer Point Lake here a couple months ago.
Okay.
Then that's 2 more also came out of Deer Point Lake along this same time frame. Been some good fishing up there. The drawdown typically produces good fishing.
How does the drawdown does help it? Okay.
It pulls the fish into the channel. Unfortunately, that makes them a lot easier to catch. And some people do not release them.
You know, you brought that up, and I just assumed that everybody, all the bass fishermen, because the bass fishermen were the first ones that ever started catching and releasing, so I'm assuming all bass fishermen catch and release. But you were telling me about there's some folks that just take home everything they catch.
There's still some people that we call them meat fishermen.
If
they don't fish tournaments and they don't release them. They catch them and haul them out, and that's why these drawdowns can really hurt the lake if you have too many of those people that take the fish out of it, because they're vulnerable. It pulls them into those channels, out of those vast acres of flats out there where you can get to them. And if people take advantage of that, they're just hurting the lake for the future.
Yeah, and you were talking about what the limit's 10, or what's the limit of bass?
Well, it's 5 now. It used to be 10.
But they were catching 10 at a time. Had somebody on the boat. They were catching 20 and taking all 20 of them home with them.
Exactly.
And you know, I can understand if you want to take couple of them home to eat that night or something. But goodness gracious, we
were all guilty of it back in the 70s.
We're back in
even in the first tournaments, you walked up there, weighed your fish, walked back, and put them in the cooler.
We're going. I guess we'll break now. Let's go and take a quick break. We'll come back with Bobby. Okay, welcome back. Sitting here with Bobby Smith, the legendary bass fisherman from the Florida Panhandle. Grew up here in Bay County, and all kind of backgrounds. We're going to talk about how you started catching release. We got to add some names because I don't have some people mad at me. I tell you what, we're doing it tomorrow show. We got to talk to Bobby. I'm going to tell you right now, we just decided we're going to do 2 shows, folks. There's so much to talk about. He's got all kind of tackle. He's going to show you how he caught them, and we've got more pictures, we've got more statistics, and a lot more stories. So we're going to do a second show with Bobby, and maybe come on maybe next Monday or something. Let's finish up this. I do want to show you. We'll wait and show this picture tomorrow, Jeff. We're just going to put everything on hold while we got Bobby here. Tell us how you started. You were the first one that we know of. We tried to track it down that actually started catch and release. And tell us how it started, and what happened.
Well, it came out of a Bass Angler Sportsman Society, and of course I read it in the magazine. Mm-hmm. I've been a member since 1974 of that organization, and I read about it, and then I began to see what they were talking about, because places that I could go and catch a 10-fish limit, tournament after tournament after tournament, it got tougher and tougher and tougher, and it was down to catching 3 and 4 and 5 instead of 8, 9, and 10, and I realized they had a point. We're taking the fish out of the water, and organization and bringing all these different people together that know how to fish, mm-hmm. you can hurt a fishery in a hurry. And it began to dawn on me that we need to look at this catch and release thing. So as far as I know, as Jerry Clower would say, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I think I am the first one around here that ever voluntarily started releasing his fish after the tournament weigh-ins. Back then, we didn't even have weigh-in bags. We brought them up there in the dip net or on one of those little chain stringers. Threw them in a bucket, weighed them, and dumped them in the cooler, and went home and filleted them.
That's right. And so then what happened now when you first started doing that tournament weigh-in?
I'd come up there and say, hey, can I break the line and go ahead and weigh mine? I'm going to let mine go. They'd look at me like I was crazy. But they'd say, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And I'd weigh mine, put them in the water, and watch them swim off.
And they probably looked at you and shook their head.
All the rest of them.
What is that fool doing?
I finally developed a few followers. Wayne Creel was one of the first ones I can remember that also started doing that. Mm-hmm. But it grew.
Yeah. And started doing it.
That was in 1978.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, it's the first time I started actually voluntarily releasing my fish. It took me 5 years until 1983 to convince the Bass Club that should be mandatory.
You were doing it for 5 years before the Bass Club?
5 years before it was mandatory.
Okay.
And then I finally got the clubs to vote it in. And I'll tell y'all folks, if we hadn't have done that, bass fishing wouldn't be anything today.
Yeah.
Because they can only take so much pressure.
Yeah. Well, when we were talking yesterday at the house when we came by, we were talking about this is 50,000 bass that's been able to spawn. and so that's 50,000 from this one man here that he released. Now, all of them didn't stay alive, but most of them, 95%.
I'd say 95%.
95% of them stayed alive, so that's incredible. So I want to hats off to you on the conservation front, too, for doing that, and all the other bass fishermen. And now the red fishermen, most of them have picked it up, too. They're releasing that, and the big speckled trout. And we're seeing a lot more people knowledgeable of the situation there. Let's see. We got, let me look through my notes now. We're going to talk about this, and again, your consistency, being consistent, tournament after week after tournament after week. And tell us some of the stats on that.
Well, that's always what I guess has been the biggest thing that I strive for is consistency. I won over 300 tournaments, I won over $300,000, but the thing that I'm most proud of in my fishing career is I've won 68 Angler of the Year awards in various clubs and regional organizations and things that hold tournaments. That means you have to catch them every time.
Yeah.
You can't just get lucky and catch them once or twice during the year. You've got to catch them all year long. And that's what drives me is to always, nobody's going to win every tournament. I don't care who you are. Yeah. There's too much competition out there. And believe me, it's much harder than it used to be. These young guys, they got a lot more energy than I got. I'm 67 years old. And I'm just thankful to the good Lord that I'm still able to get out there and push myself to compete in.
And you don't care a lot about the flipping, do you? You don't like to flip, do you?
No, and that's the only thing. That 50,000th bass, of all things, I caught him flipping.
No way.
It was a bluebird day after a cold front. I caught him early on the crankbait. It warmed up a little bit. I caught him on a snagless Sally. And then when it got in the middle of the day with the bright sunshine, I had to resort to that old flipping stick. And everybody will tell you that knows me, when you see Bobby flipping, they ain't biting nothing else.
You were telling me how you don't
I caught that fish flipping a Zoom ultraviolet worm, black red flake.
You're a southern bass angler. Okay, Florida Bass Nation, Deer Point Team Trail, the real money in Deer Point, and real money in Apalachicola. You were angler.
Those were the 5 that I won angler in last year. That was the first time I've ever actually won 5 in a year.
Yeah.
I've won 3 several times, and I think 4 one time. But last year I just had an outstanding year. I seemed to be consistent in practically every tournament. I only choked once or twice all year. And,
wow. Well, I tell you what, we're going to run out of time, and we got a lot more. Next time it's on the show, we're going to show everything you fishes with. So we're going to probably come on maybe next Monday or so. But it's amazing. And again, my hat's off to you. We got a lot more pictures. We want to talk more about your journal over there and all the information you kept. And that you're about to run out of room in your book, aren't you?
Just about. I've got enough room for maybe 3 more years.
Yeah.
By that time, I'll be 70 years old, and I might just quit.
No, you can't do that. No, there's no way. You just always keep doing that. But that's your work boat.
That's my office. I tell everybody that's my office. When I go get in that boat, I'm in my office.
We're going to add names. We got a lot of pictures showed on tomorrow's show. We're going to talk about the boat show coming up, all kinds of things coming up tomorrow. Then Bobby's coming back on the show later. So thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Thanks, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
Anytime,
and y'all have a great day. Do something good for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.